is Lisa Abraham. She is Assistant Director for Blexit, Texas. I'm not sure I say that right, so it's Blexit. She can correct that for me. So her work with Blexit includes organizing the Back to School giveaway event for underprivileged Dallas County schools. And at this event, over 600 backpacks were given away, and the message of Blexit was displayed in action. She is currently working on promoting Blexit values and finding her voice in the public square for promoting American values. You can reach her directly at labraham1984@yahoo.com. So that'll probably be more valuable, and we'll repeat it again after she talks. So come up, Lisa. Welcome.
Wow, this is awesome. This is my first time at a True Texas event, and you guys are doing God's work. Wow. It's awesome. I was sitting back there just, wow, listening to you guys talk, and the things that you guys are doing is much needed. My name is Lisa Abraham. I am, like she had said, I am the Assistant State Director of Blexit. How many of you guys know who Candace Owens is? Yeah. All right. Her and Brandon Tatum is the founders of Blexit. And so this is their 501 nonprofit organization that they founded, and they have multiple chapters across the nation, and so I'm a part of, obviously, the Texas chapter. And so I'm going to be brief with this, but I want to just tell you a little bit about where I come from, how I got to work with Blexit, and then some of our pillars that we stand for. So I am first generation American. I consider myself extremely, extremely, extremely lucky. And I say that because my parents, Blexit is a foundation for minorities. I'm not black, but I guess because I'm brown, I'm minority. My parents come from India. And I was thinking about what I was going to say to you guys today, and this is something that has been on my heart for a while. I know that I hit the lottery 3 times in my life, I believe. And first is, if you guys know, has anybody been to India or outside the country? Okay, so if you have been to anywhere Southeast Asia, India, it is a culture shock, okay? I mean, you get off the airplane, when you land, and you're just like, met with smells, noises, people. It's just overwhelming. And I remember when I was 12 years old, I've been to India when I was little, but my first memories of actually remembering India when I was 12 years old. And it was back in the 90s. So this was when India was considered a third world country. I don't know if it still is, it might be, but my grandparents were living in a village there in the state of Kerala. And so I remember going, and because of all the expats that left Kerala, which is a southern state in India, a lot of the money went back to that state. So you knew who had children in other countries, because the people who were there had a little bit more than the poor people. Not a whole lot. I mean, they didn't have infrastructure and all that, but it's just a little bit more. Anyways, I went to my grandmother's house, and there was a young girl there. I was 12, and there was a young girl there. She was about 15. And in that culture, especially at that time, they had maids and people that came and helped and cleaned and cooked and everything. So I remember her clear as day. We were just having fun, and after she did her work, me and her would just kind of go outside and play. The region's a very tropical region, so they have rice paddy fields, and you get to go out. It's very beautiful, but still kind of, I'm used to the American life and all the good that comes with American life. But we went out, and she was taking me to the store to get something. And while we were going to the store, she stopped by her house. And she is an uneducated girl. She never went to school. The only thing she ever did was be a maid. And so she took me to her home, and I remember clear as day. We were walking, we crossed the road, and all I saw was a row of hut homes. And when I say hut homes, I'm talking about mud walls, mud floors, grass rooftops. And she took me in, and I remember it's probably no bigger than that corner right there. And I had to bend down, and you can't stand back up. You're either bent down or you're sitting on the ground. And her mother looked at me, because they know when Americans come to town. And so she saw me, and she was just in shock and I guess embarrassment, because I was not supposed to be there, because I was the American girl. And so that right there, I just remember thinking, if that could have been me, I could have been a non-Christian, I could have been born in this type of environment, but because of my parents, who my mom's greatest goal in her life was to come to this country because she wanted a better life for her children. And so when I say I won the lottery 3 times, because not only am I Christian or raised Christian, I was brought up here in America, and then the greatest state in America, Texas. So I couldn't ask for more. So that was the seed of patriotism, I believe. I didn't know, but at 12 years old, I understood that there was a difference between where I lived and where I grew up and where I went to in India. And so fast forward, went to college, got indoctrinated with the liberal mindset, okay, the whole 9. So from 2004 to about 2020, I was absolutely in that whole liberal mindset. And it wasn't until the whole world fell off the cliff in 2020 and everything just started going crazy, I took a step back, and it was specifically the George Floyd incident that happened when I was like, what is going on with our country? Because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and everyone was patriotic. Like, I didn't feel any different, I didn't see any difference, but it wasn't until the last, I want to say 10 years, that things completely, I feel, were right in your face, has changed. And so after that incident had happened, you know, I know this is embarrassing to say, I was like BLM and put my fist up and Black Square, all of that, right? And then I was driving down 35, and one day I was talking to my cousin who's super, super liberal, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I never hear the other side of things. Like, it just dawned on me. I'm always watching CNN, MSNBC. I was like, but what's the other side saying? Truly, this is an act of racism, so what is the other side saying? Or so I thought. And so that's when I went down the YouTube rabbit hole, found Candace Owens, found Brandon Tatum, Larry Elder, and Thomas Sowell, and all these great Black conservatives that I was just like, oh my God. And so I was able to really, because 2020 happened, there was nothing to do, we just stayed at home. I was really able to delve into what I truly, what I was indoctrinated into believing. Even, you know I was in college, and it's easy to kind of go your own way in college, and what they're doing right now with the kids is just so scary to me, but that's another topic. It was at that point I realized I need to get involved, because I finally saw the light. And I finally realized, you know what? This is not what that 12-year-old girl remembers about America and about how lucky I am and what a great country this is. And I went and tried to find how I can get involved, and that is how I got involved with Blexit, because I believe in what they stand for. And we're not supposed to, because we are a nonprofit, we're not supposed to claim any party, but most of us tend to be conservative or uphold conservative values, which I believe are American values. And so with Blexit, we are able to reach the minority community. And I believe that's very important, because as you're seeing what's going on in Florida, and they're coming after the children. 100%, and it's understandable, because if I didn't grow up the way I grew up, I wouldn't have came back, because that was instilled in me as a young girl, And those are the things that you always go back to, no matter how far you leave it. And so I believe that's why they're coming for the children. And it's very sad. I hope you win your runoff or your election, because it's funny. I grew up in Texas. I'm a Texas native. I remember what I grew up learning, and we learned about Texas history. We learned about U.S. history, and it has changed so much. I have 2 nieces. They're in the Allen School District, and my brother tells me all the time, he's like, I have no idea what they're teaching these kids, because when they come home and he's asking the oldest, which is 7, about history lesson, they're talking about some crazy dog and man that met during Hurricane Katrina. Like, it's like weird stuff. I don't know what they're doing, but it is important that we reach the children, and especially minority children, because what's happening is, if they're coming after the children, that the people that are less fortunate, that are coming from a lower income household, they are getting no attention, right? And those are the people that are going to be easily attacked or brainwashed or indoctrinated. And so I'm going to give you 5 of our pillars, but the 2 that really stand out to me, and one of the reasons why I joined Blexit are those reasons. So we advocate school choice and alternative education opportunities for America's low-income and minority children. And that was something that I really wanted. That was one of the reasons why I got involved, was because I know that the children are our future, and that is what is being attacked right now, because we are really we're at a brink. We're at a point where this can tip either way, and so we need to protect our children. We promote criminal justice for those impacted by the penal system, and developing educational programs to help communities avoid incarceration. And so we also, this is the other thing that I really appreciate that we are trying to really get out, is entrepreneurship. I think, just like you said, sir, like, that is the crux of what the American dream is. That is why people come here from all over the world, because they have an opportunity to make something of themselves that they couldn't in their home country. And so we want to give those skills to the underprivileged, to the people that don't have access to that. Those are some of the key things that that's American values. Those are the things that keep America, America. And so we want to promote those, especially to these communities. And then we also develop history programs, or we want to develop history programs that inspire minority children to succeed and lead productive and responsible lives. And one of the things that I was thinking of was, do you guys know who Thomas Sowell is? I don't know why he is not taught in schools. He needs to be in every book at school. And he's a black man, and I don't know why he is completely ignored. Well, we know why, but he shouldn't be. And so that's something that I've been looking into, is trying to get him into the curriculum. And then we want to present the message of Blexit through visual arts. So these are the 5 pillars, and I just wanted to share this with you. I know you don't have to be a minority to be part of Blexit. We are all Americans. I think the goal is to promote American values and to every person, because that is what's going to keep us going. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you. Are you Olivia Fitzgerald? Okay, I've been emailing you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, True Texas Project. Thank you guys for this opportunity. I will be out hanging out afterwards. If you guys want to come talk, come join Blexit, help us out, and we would love to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate your work and all that you're doing in that arena. Thanks. Our next speaker is Cambry Nelson. She's otherwise known as @CamVTV on her Twitter account. I did sign up for Twitter, but I didn't hang in there. So I've missed a lot. So if you guys are on Twitter, everybody that's on Twitter, be sure to look up at Cam VTV. She's a founder and regular contributor of The Conservative Opinion. She played an active role in the grassroots effort of Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, working in California. That alone, working the California ground game, would be crazy. And broadcasting live at the 2016 RNC convention. Cambry is an ambassador for America First Priority Institute in Washington, D.C., and host of Cambry, which will be featured on Texas Scorecard. So that's very exciting because I think probably everybody in the room is big fans of Texas Scorecard, Michael Quinn Sullivan. So she is set to launch her podcast in the next coming months. She thrives on the success of others and knows that her God-given gift is servant leadership. She currently splits her time between Dallas, where she was born, and LA. Her topic this evening is the radical attempt of the left to take over Texas. This cannot happen under our watch, right? Not under our watch. Okay, welcome, Cambry Nelson. Thank you so much.
And the younger generation have their phones. I'm like so old school. I have my notes. I love my notes. But thank you guys for, I'm glad to actually be here and be home. Yes, I'm not a Californian. I am a born and bred Texan. Y'all hear my accent come out every once in a while, but I paid a lot of money to turn it off when I speak in front of people. But now that I'm back home, it's just like it's gotten worse because I'm around my family more. But I'll tell you a little bit about how I got back here, back to Texas. I'm from Garland, Texas, born and bred, raised there my whole life. My mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, my grandpa, grandfathers, whole families from Garland. And so from Garland, I had to cheer. So I had to go to Garland High School. That was like the main thing, is football and that. So I stayed there, and then after college, I moved to Frisco. So I was in Frisco right after college, and we remained in Frisco until we decided to move to California. So that's when everything changed for me. So I've been back to Dallas. We moved back to Frisco 2 months before the lockdown. Yeah, it was, trust me, it was really hard, but it was exciting to be home. So while I was in California, my background and my history is I've traveled the world speaking and training, leadership, mindset, teaching people how to be successful, especially women. That's really where my heart is, to get women to not get defeated in business, just to keep on going. But I was watching the news one night, and I was going back and forth because I had an office on the islands. So I had some family in Hawaii. So here I was going back and forth, seeing government overreach taking place in Oahu. And so I'm like, hey, I'm in California, so TMT headquarters are over here. You have all these different countries pouring in all this money to build these telescopes on sacred land. And here you are, you have the elderly, you have the old, you have the aunties and the uncles crying, and we're blocking the government from getting up on the sacred land that is privately owned, and they're ready to desecrate it. They're destroying it. It was horrible. That's where I got my activism part when it came to government. And then one night, my auntie, who was from the islands, she moved to California and wanted to live with us on the mainland. We were watching Megyn Kelly. Okay, so granted, here I am living in California, watching homeless people take baths in the wash behind my house, buck naked, they didn't care, shooting up, drugs, they were defecating on the streets. When I was going into Ralph's, which is owned by Kroger, I'm stepping over homeless people, and I'm noticing my 2 little children are like turning into radicals, and they were teachers. They were like activists, Black Lives Matter activists that were teaching my kids in California. Now, the running joke is, yes, we know in California, but I didn't really know how bad it was. So here's Megyn Kelly, and here's all these other people on television talking about how they couldn't stand Trump. You remember all that? It was war. It was either you were for Cruz or you were for Trump. I was for Trump because here I am. I'm like, are you kidding me? This country's getting out of control. California's out of control. And when I tell somebody, if you want to be successful and you want change, go read Trump's books. So that's what I had. That was the vision I had for Trump. Well, they started going after the women. The women were going after us on Megyn Kelly's show that night. It was bad, it was brutal, it was degrading, and some even still have me blocked to this day on Twitter, which is okay. It's fine. So I had enough at that point. I just dropped my plates. I just dropped my plate, dropped my fork and spoon, and I was done. I went to my computer because I have no fear of speaking. I got minuses in elementary school, so it works out perfect. But I have no fear of speaking, so I got behind my camera and I started talking. I was like, you're going to degrade me? You're going to talk about us women? Talk about how you're holier than thou? Here I am in California. Where are you? Where was the GOP in California? They were useless. Absolutely useless. So I had enough at that point. So I did a video, I did a rant. Next thing I know, I uploaded. I didn't know the first thing about Twitter. I had a huge, Facebook. I didn't know about Twitter, but I'm like, if it's going to go viral in politics, let's go. Let's just run it. Well, it did. Next thing I know, I have Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, everyone, because I was the first female to say, I'm voting for Trump. I had had enough at that point. And people were like, finally, someone's standing up. So that's how I got got the whole game of politics. And then from that point on, I was like, it's time to make some noise here in California because there's more people like me. I started realizing more people in the area were for Trump. Then I started realizing there were way more conservatives than there were liberals, except for the liberals all stayed in Los Angeles. Everything outside these big, huge cities was very conservative. But then I started hearing and talking about what the liberals' plans were, because there's one thing that I have in my notes here, is when the Democrats tell you what they're going to do, believe them. Every single time you have to believe them. So they started warning us about what their game plan was for Texas. So my neighbors, they were actively involved. I listened to them. I'll go over a few of the points here in just a couple of minutes. But we decided we got to make our voices known. Let's just go ahead and hold a rally. Let's do it at the beach. Let's go to Long Beach. Why not? Well, lo and behold, we had 4,000 people with Trump flags show up at Long Beach, and let me tell you, that is when the whole country, the dynamics of rallies, the flash stuff happening with our signs, that's when it all started. Is because we finally put California on the map. Whether or not the liberals were going to take it from us or not, we were like, we're going to speak up, we're going to stand up, and we're not going to have any fear. Because trust me, there were times that the news media would show up, and guess who decided to introduce Antifa to the rest of the country is thanks to us in California, because our events were so huge, they had to bring Antifa. And you know what happens when Antifa shows up? That's when the fights break out. That's when they started covering it on television. That's how it started in California. So we started noticing that our children's point of view was very, very different from our point of view. I started picking up my daughter's telephone, and I started noticing her timeline was polar opposite. Police brutality, remember the whole police brutality movement? She was 100% police brutality. I mean, she's a smart, wise, young girl. And what they were showing her, it made sense. Because it was showing her this view, but as if she wasn't seeing the other side of it. So we started noticing differences in our children. We started noticing behavior changes in the kids. And it doesn't matter how many times you say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. We started saying, yeah, huh? So at that point, we started thinking we have to get back to Texas at some point. My fear as a mom was, I want consistency. I want consistency. I don't want to remove my kids. We moved them to California, and now we're moving them back to Dallas. But I never expected to come home to Texas and find out what was happening here. They were telling us in California that they were infiltrating, and no one was paying attention. So typically, when something happens in California, you see it on news, right? The national news covers it. Fox News covers it. You see it on local news. I mean, California, it's almost like they're excited about corruption and everything that's going on. It's just like clicks, clicks, clicks. So I moved back to Dallas a couple of months before the lockdown. And here I am walking into the state thinking, and I hope y'all give me permission to be very, very blunt, because right now it's not about who's the governor, who is this, it's about what's going on and what we're going to do to fix it, because no politician is going to fix it right now for us. It's going to be us, because there's more of us than them. So I'm coming back to Texas thinking there's a supermajority. Texas has it. We have a Republican governor, we have a Republican Senate, and we have a Republican House. I'm online. I'm fired up to be back home. Not really in my home with the lockdown, but I'm excited to be back home. And I'm tweeting about all the positive things that are going on in Texas, and then I see one of my girlfriends who I worked with for 2 years. I worked with the White House Digital. I worked with some of them, so I am very, very close to a lot of people that worked in the White House, especially with AFPI, American First Policy Institute, basically President Trump and all of them. They took everyone from the White House and they planted them into AFPI. So luckily, I get to learn everything about briefings and bills, everything that's going on that members of Congress should be talking about right now, but they're saying nothing about. If I told you the 42 things that were in the Build Back Better bill right now, it would probably shock you. Because when we were briefed on it, we should be rioting right now. You would not believe the stuff that is in this bill, and you probably guys have no idea what's in it. So I got a phone call. I got a phone call from Katrina Pearson. Y'all probably know Katrina. I got a phone call from her, and she was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm talking about Texas and how great it is." She goes, "Are you not aware of what's happening in this state?" I said, "No." I was like, "In California, nobody talks about Texas. It is a red state. That's everybody outside of Texas believes Texas is a red state. There's no corruption going on. We know that we have issues at the border, but our border is slightly secure." No one had, I'm not telling you. We know California's out of control, but California's supposed to be out of control, right? Because that's what California's for. They're for open borders. Welcome them right in. Be in Laguna Beach. They're pushing people out of the retirement communities, and they're making them Section 8 housing for the illegals on the most gorgeous part of the beach. So we knew this is normal in California, but it's not normal here in Texas, especially when I have an uncle who's been an undercover narcotics agent for 40 years at the border. So I know what's going on down there, and it's dirtier than what you guys think. Because the people in Austin, Texas are aware all the way to the top. They may say they're not, but they're absolutely aware of what's going on. And they also play a role in a lot of stuff that happens at the border. But I got a phone call, I asked what happened, what's going on in Texas, and then lo and behold, I started doing my homework, I started doing my research. They said, "You have to come sit down and talk to all of us. We got to tell you what's happening here because clearly you're not aware." I said, "No." I started looking in the Dallas Morning News. I started looking at all these different sites, and I'm not seeing any corruption. Have you guys noticed how in Texas the news and the media doesn't cover it? If you go to a few sites, you'll see it. But if you go to local sites, they're not going to talk about anything other than so-and-so in Houston's office got raided by the FBI. There's no information that is out there about what's happening in Texas. None. And here I am thinking, oh my goodness, all these people I work with, I go to Mar-a-Lago, I know who's who of everybody. Don't you think I should be knowing what's going on in my own state? They don't even know what's going on even in Florida. You wouldn't believe the conversations I have with them. They're like, "Are you kidding me? We're not aware of what's happening." They're starting to find out what's happening now because thank God Texas got loud. We got really loud. We went public and we ticked off a few people, and that's okay because we had to get attention on the state. So people have a false sense of security, and I did, that Texas is red. There is a major false sense of security that Texas is red. We have some of the largest cities in the nation. Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, not red at all. I grew up as a child in Garland, Dallas County. We were Republican, we flipped red. Houston flipped red in 4 years. Flipped blue in 4 years. It took 4 years. That's how quickly it took for Houston. And we always keep saying, don't California my Texas. Because when I first moved here, I had California license plates. Hey, I held off as long as I could to not get California license plates, so I got a ticket. So they made me switch my plates to California. But people were not happy that I was driving around. I had my Longhorn sticker on the back, but they didn't matter. Like, don't California. There's a big misconception. So when there's a misconception of that, and I started realizing something's going on, people in California are telling me that they have a plan to slide in right underneath our noses and infiltrate when we're not paying attention, then what's happening? If it's not the Californians, then who is it? So that's how my brain works, and that's when I start going into like investigative type mode, and that's what I found. So when I started talking to people from California, lo and behold, guess what we found out? A lot of them were moderates, and a lot of them were conservatives. But I didn't meet one progressive. That's confusing when you live in a state, you're seeing all of these things out of control. We're thinking all these radical liberals are moving to Dallas. Nope. The moderates are moving here, and the conservatives are moving to Dallas. So that lets you know something else is going. How are they going to infiltrate us? In California, they jumped, and people laughed at me. I don't know if y'all know who Wayne Dupree is, but I did the Wayne Dupree show for the whole election in 2016, and Pastor Darrell Scott's show, and I kept telling them, they're going to infiltrate through the mayors. They're joking. They're telling us they want. This is how the Democrats operate, and I think even now, my gosh, all of them do. They keep your focus so high that you're watching what Washington D.C. is doing. You're watching to what Trump is doing. You're watching and paying attention to the media that they're sliding people right underneath your nose. You don't even know if your mayor is a Republican or a Democrat. They're coming in with no R or no D. That was the running joke. We're coming in when no one's paying attention. Why? Because guess who doesn't show up to vote for mayors? Republicans. So they said it's easy. It's easy for us to get all these people because let me tell you something. The left knows how to fight. They know how to fight on a higher level than I've ever seen in my entire life. That's why I've learned over the past 5-6 years, I've got to learn how to fight fire with fire because that's how we have to handle these folks. Because eventually they start calming down when you meet them with the same type of resistance. So they started infiltrating through mayors. They told us that's what they were going to do. People kind of laughed and said, no, we know what's going on in our cities. Is that my phone? Yep, sorry. Actually, it said state convention. It's to get my hotel for the GOP state convention. So they came in through mayors. So now we have them. Now that we know that they come in through mayors, they've done something different that I don't think we've ever expected in our entire life. They're coming in through our children. I tweet all the time, they're coming after our children. Who would have thought that while we're focused on all these political races, we're not paying attention to who's city council, we're not paying attention to who's teaching our kids. While we're focusing up here again, these unions are coming in and acting as teachers. And that's exactly what they have done. These people are very, very smart. And they told me that. We're coming in on these little bitty areas of your towns and your cities, and that's how we're going to infiltrate. So they're starting with our children. And this is indoctrination on a level I've never seen in my entire life, especially here in Texas, because I did not plan to leave the state of California, come home here, and fight the same thing that I just left. I never thought I would see this in my entire life. They're using our colleges. They're getting on our school boards. Now, McKinney ISD has a school board of all Republicans. Parents are outraged that over 400 books of pornography was found in McKinney ISD's library. And what is the school board members that are all Republicans doing? Nothing. So, we think it's all Democrats? Why do we have school board members doing nothing? Why aren't they saying anything? To me, I have to just wonder, one, are they being paid off? Two, what are the unions doing? Because the unions are powerful, and just recently, in the Build Back Better bill, they are going to unionize everything. Kamala said the other day that we are going to be the most powerful country I'm telling you, unionizing everything. Where if you are not a part of a union, you are going to be hit with tax. They're going to get you taxes. They're going to put you out of businesses. They're going to, I could go on for 30 minutes on what's in this bill. It will scare you to death. So if you have children going to a charter school, gone. If you have children that are in a homeschool, at someone's house, at a daycare, that daycare provider is no longer going to be able to hold a daycare in their home unless they have a college education. And if churches have schools, or they go to a Mother's Day out or pre-K, gone. They're removing all the kids out of the churches. They're only going to be able to go and they're going to get rid of private schools. So, as you can see, their agenda is to slowly start removing children out of private schools, homeschooling, all of that. That's on their goal, and that's what they're working with Joe Manchin on right now. So, we have unions acting as teachers. There's one thing that I believe, why are they doing all of this? If they're going after our children so hard, and we already know that Biden has already said, maybe not publicly, but I did see him on a video on one of my conference calls, that he wants to extend education. So, elementary kids will be going to school 2 years longer for elementary, coming to school 2 years earlier. College students will go 2 years later. Yeah. We will have 3-year-olds to 20. Is it 22? 22. So we have our government now that wants to raise our children for us. They're doing one thing. They're doing one thing, and that's removing our rights. They want to dismantle the home. They want to raise your children. I was listening yesterday on the radio, and I was like, my mind was blown. I was listening yesterday, and this man was a counselor at a school. That was like, if you're a parent, you should not have the right to talk to your children if they want to identify as another gender. If they want to come to school and change into a different clothes, you have no right. They can come to me, and I don't have to tell you anything. Do you know what's happening in Round Rock, Texas, Leandra, Texas, Austin, Texas? Have you guys heard of transition closets? See, that's what I'm talking about. You know what a transition closet is. Let me tell you what's happening in Texas. We have boys and girls in elementary school, and some identify as furries. Do y'all know what a furry is? Yeah. Rampant in Frisco Prosper ISD. They're children that identify as an animal. They wear ears, they wear tails, they lick each other, they have paws. Some of them eat off the ground. One kid actually took a leak on another kid. They crawl on the floor. Yes, they do scratch. It's in our schools here. Frisco ISD, Prosper ISD, McKinney ISD, Leander ISD. They meow at the teachers instead of saying yes. This is Texas, y'all. And this is what happened in California when I was there. You see why I wanted to get out of there? And I come from for a year, and I'm like, Lord help me, what is going on? But the counselor on the radio yesterday said it's our right to raise your children. If they're not comfortable with you, then we'll take over. We'll take over raising your kids, and I believed him. He was a school counselor. So we have what's called transitional closets, where if a younger child identifies as a different gender, the parent can call the school and say, and this is happening as we speak, down in Leander, do not allow my son to come to school and change into girl clothes. And if he does, you tell me. Well, I have the memos from the teachers. If a child comes to school, take them to the transitional closet, which means that little boy can walk into school, go into a closet, change clothes, because the school's providing clothes for the kids. They're changing into the tire or whatever they want to identify as at the moment. They don't tell the teachers, and the children change their clothes and go home. They go home in their original clothes. It's happening in our schools. It's indoctrination in our schools, and they're removing the parents. Yes?
I know we'll have Q&A later, but while you're on this, who was doing the transition closet? I mean, what, school administrators?
Superintendents,
They're being allowed?
principals. The principals are sending out the emails, and I have emails. The principals are sending out the emails saying, do not tell the parents. And not only that, they're telling the children, don't go home and tell your mom and dad what's happening. Mm-hmm.
Do you see a problem where there's teachers that want to speak out, but the bureaucracy of
Yep.
it's just impossible?
Mm-hmm. My mom lives in Cedar Creek Lake, down out in East Texas, and she has 2 of her girlfriends that are teachers, been teaching for 45 years, and they're having anxiety attacks when they walk into the schools because they can't say anything. They're petrified for their lives. They want to say something. They're in fear of being fired from their jobs. That's happening. I have a few that I've been talking to down in Leander because I have just recently, it's not public, I've recently partnered with Texas Scorecard because I'm on a mission to expose everything in the state. I'm fed up. I'm not kidding. They want to bring, I'm going to fight, and I'm going to bring everybody with me, but I'm going to expose it all. And they didn't think it was happening out in East Texas at my mom's home, but it is. She said, oh my gosh, my girlfriend just called me. You're not going to believe what's in the hallways. It's starting in a small little town, Gun Barrel City, Texas. It's Gun Barrel City, Texas, Cedar Creek Lake, Toole, Texas. It is here. It's already out there, but the mothers are so petrified of their life because in Leander, in Round Rock actually, if you step on school property, they will arrest you if you are a parent. The corruption down there is so disgusting. They're popping people's tires, breaking in people's homes. The cops are harassing the parents. I had a mom say, I would love to be on your show, but I'm petrified for my life. I don't know what they're going to do to me. They're dragging these fathers out. The police are. It's bad. Literally go to TexasScorecard.com and read what's happening in Round Rock and Leander. They're taking over our children's education, but not only that, they're taking the rights, again, away from the parents. Of course, we know immigration. Are you kidding me? State convention, see? It's my state convention. Okay, so let's talk about immigration. Another way that they want to bring them in is through the southern border, of course. There's something that the Democrats are doing, they're hustling, that I don't necessarily see the Republicans doing as hard, is they're overworking their base. The Democrats have decided to start working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're overhauling laws. Of course, Biden being selected to be put in office is their gift because he's changing laws on immigration. And a lot of people, thank God, Chad Wolf is bringing all this. He's with AFPI. He was with Homeland Security and President Trump. He's really, really bringing this to life. But right now, there's something in Texas. I say Texas on paper, we're purple. People don't get that. What do you mean? No, Texas on paper is purple. I sat down with a GOP bigwig in the GOP the other day, and he said, this state's in trouble. People don't think Texas is in trouble. We're in trouble. When you have these guys saying we're in trouble, I said, well, then are you going to fight? Because if you're not, tell me what you can't say, and I'll say it, and I'll go out and I'll help. But there's 2.6 million people in Texas that the Democrats are going for because they're not registered to vote. They're not registered to vote. So they're going after those 2.6 million. That's a number that they have. 2.6 million are not registered to vote. They're trying to push vote by mail. That is the big thing we saw what happened in 2020. And now people are trying to ballot harvest. That happened in California. We worked so hard in California to get these seats so solid red, and the left went and ballot harvested. And they were knocking on doors. Have you registered to vote? No. Would you like to vote? Yes. They don't know who to vote for. Boom, blue. Boom, blue. The most red areas of California, they flip blue. They want vote-ins. They want vote-in bills, and they want to definitely ballot harvest. And they're going to do it regardless if it's legal or not. The thing with the left is if they get caught. That's what I've learned. I say both sides aren't perfect, but the one thing is they will do anything until absolutely caught. Title 42. Y'all may be hearing about Title 42 right now. That is, President Trump put Title 42 in place. That is where it is, the CDC did. That's why we're starting to see the surge happen at the border, because the CDC is going to be lifting the COVID-19 protocols for Title 42, but it gets even crazier than that. We all know that Biden's incompetent, but when it comes to the border, this is not incompetence. Makes sense? Yeah, and that's kind of tricky. When it comes to the border, this is not incompetence when it comes to our southern border. The Democrat Party, especially with Texas, they are on a mission to dismantle our immigration system. And they're making the laws, they're changing the laws. Biden just, in 2023, get this, are you ready? And this will explain to you why a lot of people want to be coming to Texas and coming through our southern border. In 2023, $4.5 billion. Biden will be giving $4.5 billion to attorneys to defend illegals. You don't see this happening. You hear the news talking about this? That's why even though we know what's going on in politics, a lot of people don't know what's going on. $4.5 billion we're giving to attorneys to defend illegals. And the process of catching an illegal has been changed. So the process for when somebody comes across the border, they're caught by a Border Patrol agent, but we also have not just Border Patrol agents, we have immigration, we have other agents that are there specifically to process them. Asylum, okay, it's more so asylum. So, the border, they're called asylum officers. So some of y'all may not know that. We have two. We have Border Patrol agents and we have asylum officers. The Border Patrol agent is going to catch the person crossing the border, and then the asylum officer is going to have to assess if they are truly in fear for their lives. So they have to make a decision on, can they stay in Texas or not? Are they truly seeking asylum or not? So that's kind of the process. So it would go through the agent, then it would go through the asylum officer, then the next thing it would go to the DOJ immigration judge. And that's a lengthy process. We know they hardly ever show up, but that's the process. Catch, asylum officer, yes, he buys the story, and they let in about 70% of people seeking asylum with the officers. They're allowed to come into the United States. Well, guess what? This is changing. Now, they're getting rid of the asylum officers. And Joe Biden is not going to be using DOJ judges anymore. So the protocol is about to change. Remember, keep this number 70% in the back of your mind. Asylum officers are going to be able to let them into the state. They're going to skip the DOJ because there's not enough immigration judges, right? We knew that there was an issue under President Trump. So the judges are not going to be ruling on if they can stay in the United States or not. Now, they are going to allow the citizenship and immigration employees decide. A regular employee decide if they can stay in Texas or not the judge. Now, when I started looking up the 70% that were let into the United States, at the end, 70% was brought in by asylum, via asylum through the border. Judges only allowed 15% were actual asylum seekers. So that lets you know we're bringing in 70, we're allowing in 70%, but when they get before a judge, they're only finding out 15%, now it's gone. So now we have everybody coming right through our borders. So we know that on paper, we look very, very purple. There's a drought in the state of Texas, and that's a Democrat drought, and they told us that we are coming for Texas with a vengeance. Those were their exact words for our state when I was talking to some of my liberal friends. Something that's very powerful that I have learned is Democrats fight to win. Republicans fight to not lose. I don't go easy on the Republicans. I don't care who you are. If you're a Republican, you're a Democrat or independent, I'm going to go after you. You have a job to do, and it's to protect us. If you're upholding your oath, I'm coming for you because I'm going to have to nudge you into the right direction. I'm not seeing everyone win. They're going to seek and destroy anything in your path. Like I said, when the Democrats say they're going to do something, you believe them. Because they will. They're on a mission to seek and destroy. They have activists that they're putting in the state of Texas, district attorneys, Soros, they're here. They're targeting rural urban cities. The Democrats have attorneys on hand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're ready for lawsuits all day long. They have offices popping up everywhere. They are literally 24 hours, 7 days a week. They have no fear. When I called my girlfriends in 2018, my dad got married. I flew back from LA to here. I was like, "Are you going to go put up some cruise signs?" He was running his bedtime. She's like, "Oh no, we're too scared." I'm like, "What? People were too scared to put Ted Cruz signs up?" I'm like, "Are you guys kidding me? What's happened to this state?" Here I am getting flipped off every 5 minutes holding a Trump flag on the side of the road. I'm like, where's the fight in Texas? The left has no fear. We have to have that same type of mindset, as we cannot have any fear. Of course, they are bent right now on sending out vote by mail registrations. They're currently still doing that right now. I don't know if you know that they're sending out, wanting people to vote by mail. The Democrats are doing that all of the time. They're currently doing it now, preparing for this next election. Redistricting. I think redistricting actually saved us and made us a little bit more red, but here's something that no one talks about. Right now, we're putting Democrats in the heads of chairman committees in Austin. Did you know that we can actually redistrict every year? Did you know the law? Oh yes, I called yesterday and asked. If Democrats get in office, and I don't know why on God's green earth we're allowing Democrats kill our bills in the state of Texas, but we're allowing them to do it. So, like I say again, is it really only Democrats that are flipping the state of Texas blue? We're handing it to them. We can redistrict every single year, and I'm telling you right now, if the Democrats take over the state of Texas, they are going to redistrict our state every single year. It's just that the Republicans are so nice, we wait every 10 years. They're ready, and that's what they told me yesterday. So, why are the Democrats not winning? Because they have bad candidates. They have bad candidates. And right, that's why they're going after the 2.6 million. They're going for the urban communities. So are we going to blame all liberals? No. I have to blame the Republicans too. We have a governor in Austin that can declare an invasion. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the Texas Constitution says the governor can catch and deport. What does not mean he can go round up everyone ICE to deport all the illegals. If he catches an illegal crossing the border, guess what Governor Abbott can do? He can send them back across. Is he? Nope. Mm-hmm.
Why isn't he?
That is a good question. President Trump sued him 6 times. We've asked him 3 times to declare an invasion, and he said no. Not one border governor that we've asked to declare an invasion would do it. They all rejected President Trump's question. He asked Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott said, nope, he's not.
Is it possible that
But then you go and look at who donates. I mean, he's getting $1.4 million from a transgender organization to stop all the child mutilation that's going on in Texas. So you're right, money talks in the state of Texas. I've learned that too. So right now, and I'll start ending with this. Is it all the liberals? Are we blaming all liberals? No. We're in a state where we're inviting all these woke corporations into the state of Texas, and we're giving them perks, and they're bringing their values. And they're bringing their woke mindset. I don't know if y'all know this. Little Elm, Texas just flipped blue. The mayor ran very smoothly. He's a liberal. So Little Elm just flipped blue. But we have Facebook. Abbott invited Facebook to Texas. So Austin's now getting a big, huge data center. This is going to be the 2nd data center. They are investing in our girls. They don't mention boys, but they are investing in our girls. Facebook is basically, they have community girl projects for all little girls. They're investing in our schools and our education. Their goal is to equip girls to navigate gender, economic, and social barriers. They want all girls to be independent.
On their terms, right?
This is undermining our parents. Yeah, once again. They're fighting parents. They just put a letter that said they're supporting the child mutilation that's going on in the state of Texas. The city of Dallas is the #1 hub for female genitalia mutilation. I don't know if you know this, but the governor can actually do anything he wants at any time of the day with a stroke of a pen. So we have the hub for a lot of Middle Easterns bringing their little girls in for female genitalia mutilation, and it's not being stopped. So for Facebook coming in and writing a letter, Governor Abbott gave them 75% cut on their property taxes for the next 10 years. So, in a way, I do believe Texas is turning part of our citizens blue. How do the Democrats keep their base engaged? Fear. They scare them. And two, there always has to be a victim. You will notice that in the news. The Democrats always uses the fear as a tactic, and they always have a victim. You notice that? They're going to scare you into doing something, or, oh, poor pitiful me, look what we did. There always has to be a victim. In politics, you guys, when it comes to the state of Texas, we have to separate. Took me a long time, especially with who I work with, to separate my emotions and from politics. I have to separate them. I can't get emotionally engaged anymore. It's like, okay, this has happened. Let's go on to the next one. A lot of people don't want to vote. I tell people this: if you don't want to vote, then you're surrendering. That's what a lot of people are doing. I don't want to be involved in politics. Don't be involved in politics. But if you don't vote, you're surrendering. There's a Republican revolution going on right now, and it's not in the state of Texas. It's in the state of Florida. When Governor Ron DeSantis said, Florida is the new Texas, it made me feel sick, because what Ron DeSantis is doing is what Texas should be doing, because, again, we are one election away from going blue. So I just thank you for having me on tonight. There's so much I could go into detail over, but I really appreciate it. And it's not too late.
Cambry, please stay up here a minute. So we've got some Q&A. Let's do, 5 minutes or so of Q&A. Real quick, if you don't mind.
And I'm hard of hearing, and I didn't bring my hearing aids, so if y'all yell at me, I would appreciate that. Yeah. Okay.
For people who are not on Twitter, what's a good way to get connected with you?
People that are not on Twitter to follow me?
To see
To what?
and hear what you do and say.
To hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To follow local news. I mean, I say follow the Texas scorecard. I think the Texan isn't that bad. If Twitter is brutal, y'all. If out of all the platforms, it's really brutal. Getter is great. I'm on, of course, Getter. I like it. Jason Miller is a great friend of mine. I do like Getter, Gettr. I don't even really turn on the television as much, except for one of my friends' shows on Fox. I'll turn it on so I can kind of make fun of them for that night. But I like local news. I like getting up in the mornings. Don Jr., actually, I don't know if y'all know about this. If you want local news, huh? Don Jr.'s new app. Yeah, he has a new app. It's MXM. And basically has a whole America First section, but it's an aggregated app that you can find out. But stay in touch with the Texas Scorecard is unleashing everything on their website. And what I like about them, outside of them personally, their news is straight news. Now, when you see their tweets and their Facebooks, they'll get personal and they'll get involved in different campaigns. But it's just straight news of what's going on. They're the only website that I have seen that is straight news. If people are not on social media, I wouldn't advise anyone to get on Twitter at this point. It's pretty disgusting on that site. But news travels fast.
A couple of things. So in the 2020 cycle, Zuckerberg gives $400 million to Democrats and Democrat PACs. How do we combat that? They have all the money to boot. And B, as you know, Randy Weingarten, AFT, and Deborah Pringle, NEA, both communist public teacher unions, both gay, married to other women. This is all coming, that's where it comes from, the top.
It comes from the top because if you want to look at who appoints the heads of education, it's the governor.
So between these two issues, with $400 million from Zuckerberg and the top, the communist public teacher unions, what can we
Right,
do?
and if you look at the teachers unions too, Disney plays a big, huge role in people's pensions in the state of Texas. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I think this election, they wanted to ensure that a Democrat did not win it. That's why I believe a lot of endorsements took place. Don't get me started on that one. But it's going to take the people to wake up. Because if you've noticed, we're not talking about property taxes anymore. You notice that? It's almost like the election's over, okay, now we're going to have to go defeat Beto. But this is about money, from what I've understood. I do not believe for a second Abbott's a bad man. I believe he's compromised. I've seen this in politics before. I think they're compromised. I know a circle of influence around them. You have advisors. You listen to the advisors. There was a point in time where President Trump wasn't aware of everything that was going on outside of the White House, because that was really kind of like kept him in a little bit of an area at one point from knowing what was going on the outside. They kept him focused on that. It's going to take the people, because it's not going to be anyone in Washington, D.C. is going to fix it. The only people that can fix it is going to be us. That's it. And
Cambry-
vocal pressure, because if you notice during the elections, when we put pressure on Abbott, what did he do? He moved far right. You notice he kept moving more and more right? That's what we have to do, is be loud.
So action steps, what do you suggest for us on all of the topics that you've addressed and these questions and what he was just talking about? What it is up to us. And so do you have some action steps like?
Action steps, get involved locally, find out who's running. School boards, definitely. If you don't have children, it doesn't matter. Find out what's going in the local community. Right now, the way we're going to make change is locally, because people are still here in the state of Texas, and you have to be almost like active in talking to your friends and family about what's going on. You don't have to talk about Trump. In California, I could talk to Californians all day long about issues, and they all agreed with me until I said his name. I kept it out of it. I just kept fact-based. Get involved in what's happening locally. Go to your school board meetings. Go to your town halls. You have to hear what's going on, because they're becoming more and more, the notoriety of these events are becoming more public, because there's a few parents that are starting to speak up in these different areas that we didn't expect them. So you have to get involved locally, get involved here. And I say, if there's a school that has inappropriate books, I told my girlfriend, said, what do? I said, go get pictures of every inappropriate picture of a 50-year-old man that was teaching a 10-year-old little child the most horrible things in these books. Her daughter was at home. I said, plaster them all over the city. Get a group of friends together and put the parents are going to drive by and go, that is so not appropriate. Good. Get in their faces. Not meaning go up into their faces. You just have to get it to where people are aware of what's happening in the city. The best thing you can do is talk.
And then going back to parental rights, how can we push back about the parental rights being taken away and them arrested?
Yeah.
Well,
the parents that were arrested, they've gone up the ladder and up the chain to Austin, and they're not getting help. So what they're having to do is, there's so many people showing up that they're having emergency sessions and hearings. Here's the thing. If you put enough pressure on these people, they'll break. Eventually, they're going to break, and that's what's happening down in Leander, is they're breaking. But the superintendent that's so corrupt, they removed him. I'm not getting into that whole story. They just brought him back. I mean, it's once they get control. Right now, a lot of, except for the real liberal cities, they're in control already. Some of these other cities where this is not happening yet, we have to take massive control before they get in, because we may not know if someone is an independent or they're a Republican that's running as a Republican that's actually a Democrat. That's happening in Collin County right now. We have a lady that's running, and she is full-blood Democrat running as a Republican, and she's probably going to win.
Jamie Jolly, vote for Eric Holden. You live in Collin County. You have to be there.
I had a question about the 2.6 million people that they're trying to get, that are supposed to be voting, or what you were saying something about 2.6 million people.
They're going after 2.6 million of the voters, the Democrats are.
Are they illegals? Or are they like people that moved into the
They're going after both,
state?
because in Denton County, I know they're going to put illegal aliens on the city council board members. So the Democrats are going after any of them.
So whatever tactic they're using, why can't we use that? Or what can we do to go after those voters?
We should be. I mean, really the one thing that frustrates me about the Republican Party is that we're the party of diversity, and we care about all these inner cities, but then I go, where are you? Honestly, it's going to take some organizations, it's going to take like Blexit to go into those cities and organizations. That's a question that I asked a couple of days ago, and with the person that's going to be a new chair of the GOP, an area in North Dallas, and he's ready to start making that happen. So that's where we're going to have to, it's not going to be Austin's not going to do it. but it's going to have to be local. It's going to have to be local Republican parties are going to be the ones that can go in and go after those voters. Right now, it's just, from what I see, the Democrats say, oh, I run South Dallas, you're running North Dallas, so let me just handle it. Yeah, I'm talking about all the people that the Democrats are going out in urban areas, in the inner city areas. Those are the people that they're going after. They're knocking on doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're out there.
I have 2 quick points. Last night we had a Republican meeting here. One of the teachers, or one of the parents stood up, whose student has been #1 in the class almost all year. The teacher came up to her, don't you think it's time for you to slow down a little bit so somebody else can be #1? And it got to a point where she didn't do any of her homework, so they had to pull her out. Now, it's even worse. Anybody here keep up with Heritage Action? Okay, they sent out a text last night that said the Biden administration's new rule to redefine sex, and it will affect all our students from kindergarten to the university. Schools will lose federal funding if they don't allow a biological man to join a women's sports team.
It hasn't passed yet. That's what it's
Yeah, our schools are, Texas is producing liberals. University of North Texas has gone fully woke. So right now, that's why we say, when I told you earlier, it's like, is it the moderates and the conservatives are from California are moving here? It's the colleges and the educational system. They're going in with conservative parents, and all the kids are coming out radicalized. So we're actually a breeding ground for the left. That's what's happening here.
So Cambry, it's so good to see you again. I've seen you at other stuff. I'll be really quick. We're asking what to do, and one thing really quick we can do is, so I'm not running for precinct chair. I'm precinct chair elect because the precinct chair isn't re-upping. So what you guys can do, if you don't want to do that, you can actually find out who your precinct chair is, and you can volunteer and help them. And what my husband and I do is we go door knocking. We go door to door. We put together a little flyer of who's going to be running, what they actually stand for, right? Not just what they say, but what their voting record is. And then you can meet your neighbors, inform your neighbors, let them know what's happening on all of these different issues, because you're right, Cambry, it's going to start with just each one of us at the local level, because we've been abandoned. Our government they're gone. The government that we knew when we were younger, they're gone. They don't exist anymore. They are now against us. And so just find out who your local precinct chair is, okay? And you can be a block captain, you can volunteer and there's all kinds of things that we can do. We just have to step up. We have to get out of our comfort zone and take our own time to do it. That's the hard part, is it takes time. So thank you for coming. You're amazing, and I want to follow you and support you.
The person I'm running against, she was